Right, we're going to talk today about a tank I very highly recommend. It's one of them tanks that is really cost effective. It's ideal for those who want to come out of the old sub-ohm tank stock coil routine. And let's face it, in the long run, they cost a lot. This is the Hellvape R-tank. Straight out with the packaging is your typical Hellvape red packaging, all the warning signs, little breakdown blueprint, or I should say red print, all your little features and parameters and all that kind of thing on the back with your little warning signs. Another little symbol of the tank tells you exactly what it's got with it, which includes 5 cotton pieces and 5 mesh pieces, which is absolutely ideal for the tank straight away. So that means you've got a few coils to practice with as you start. As soon as we open the box, the first thing we get is this little easy build guide. It's quite handy. If you're one of them that went from RTAs to this, you'll find it a bit difficult and think, what? But as I say, I'd really advise reading the instruction manual. You feel less of a plank afterwards. So you see both sides, it gives you all the right and wrongs and what not to do's and things like that. Opening it, you get a 2mm tank attached straight away, which I would say is some type of polycarbonate plastic kind of thing, and clearly TPD compliant. But wherever you get this, you should by any rights have a 6.5mm bubble glass that comes with, which I will be showing you literally in a moment. First things first, it's quite an easy little quarter turn locking mechanism, as you can see by the little runner at the top. Little pivots on the inside, quite easily visible. It's a 510 drip tip. It just happens to be a wide bore one, a nice tall one too. Right, pay attention to this airflow here. As you look at this airflow ring, notice what I do here. These 2 screw points is how you're going to be opening the deck. We're going to be grabbing the upper ring, the one above the airflow, and changing the glass over. Rather than using the 2mm TPD compliant one, we're going to be using the 6.5mm version. Obviously, most of us probably like a bigger tank rather than being stuck and restricted. As you can tell, it's not a very difficult process. It's a very simple switch over. Literally just pull that off. I don't think I really paid any particular attention to how it went in. Grabbed my base and literally threaded it back in. And there we have it. Now we've got our 6.5mm tank. Here what you can see me trying to do is literally unthread the base. There's a couple of little learning points here. Sometimes at first they can be a little bit tricky to get directly to the base itself. But once you get used to it, it really isn't too bad. As you can see on the inside here, there's a couple of little learning points around the outside of the ring. And here is, remember them screw ports? This is how you access them. So what you're going to want to make sure you're going to be doing, once you're getting ready to build your deck, I'm hoping you should be able to see this. You can see me actually opening them right up. But you don't want to open so far up that the screws drop out. But you want to open them up enough so when you're ready to input your mesh, you've got more than enough room for them to slot down into the gaps and not crimple up as you insert your jig, which you'll see me doing in a second. Inside the little accessories bag, you have a little jig. You have your screwdrivers, which are very handy, more post stuff. You also have a few sleeves of mesh, as well as some cotton sleeves. There are different ways you could do this, but for the introduction of this video, I'm literally going to be just doing it how it would be expected. However, that doesn't mean there isn't other little methods to make things a little bit easier, or methods to prolong the life of your meshes, but let's keep it simple. All of this on what I'm doing should be in the instruction manual, but just in case you don't read it properly, pay attention to how I've lined up the cotton mesh with the corner facing in the top left hand corner. The idea here is going to be simply with legs facing down, centralizing the mesh strip down the center of the cotton. And what you're going to be doing now is, as you'll probably notice, I'm going to get out my little coiling jig. And we're going to literally, basically what we're going to do, we are going to wrap this mesh and cotton piece together around the coiling jig. As you notice with the legs, you see this little central pit right above the Hellvape sign. What you're going to want to do, each side of that, is how your legs are going to meet when it's been rounded off. It's easier said than done, I must admit, at first, but it's achievable, and once you get used to it, you learn to get better and better at it. As you see, if this was in comparison to the instruction video, it's not quite totally level. It's a bit wonky, a bit lopsided. It's easily adjusted in your hands as you do it. It's just getting used to it. And what you're going to want to do, because as you first try it, sometimes you might think, oh, that's enough room in there. But what you want to do is give it a really nice tight pinch. See your two legs. What you want to do is face them down, get them in. If you need to, what I may recommend if you're struggling with your two legs is maybe get a set of ceramic tweezers and maybe guide them through, but sometimes you may not need them. See, nice pinched in. Give it a nice little hold. As you see, it slowly went down closer and closer, straight into the slot. What I tend to do most of the time first, I tend to literally screw it straight back in. I mean, if you remember how far your legs were back, they weren't out too far, but enough just for them legs to fit. Now this is nice and secure. Grab a pair of snips. If I was you, I'd probably make sure they were nice and sharp. These aren't exactly the best. It looks okay, but I would give it a little bit of a scratch down the center there. Make sure it's all covering up, you know. I suppose some people do this with sub-ohm coils as well, standard sub-ohm coils. But as you see, it is nice and rounded on the inside. And essentially, that's exactly what this is. It is a sub-ohm tank coil. Now we're going to be grabbing our top cap. On the inside, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it as clearly on this one. There's a little notch on the inside. Maybe it's like a little slight raising. We are going to be lining that up with that center cotton. You can also see the same one on the base, which is on the back of the rounded chamber, not near the center of the cotton itself. As I said at first, it's not the most easiest thing to do, but you will be able to find it. You will be able to feel it lock into place once you have it. Keep in mind, this is a brand new tank. I must admit my other version is a lot more easier to do, but it's had a bit more wear and tear over the time. Right, now that's all set up. One thing I am going to recommend you always do. Check your resistance on an ohm reader. You could use a mod if you wanted to, but an ohm reader is always going to be a little bit more accurate. At least this way, if there's any issues, you can rectify them before you fill up your tank. Do not fire, because right now everything's still dry. Time to put her on a mod. I'm using the Falima Quest in this video. It's just a decent mod. You can't go wrong with it. She had a little bit of a battering, but you know, she's decent. So let's fill her up. For this video, I've decided to use the Fog Monsters Neon Green Slush. A nice kind of citrusy lime juice. So now we're all filled up. Just put your cap on. Wait 5 to 10 minutes. Yeah, I'd probably say maybe 15, you know. Now we're coming on to probably round about the last bit of the video, the last thing I wanted to show you. So right now, yeah, you're going to have to put up with me tidying up, all that kind of things. For the pure reason, I can't be bothered to edit it out. So you're just going to have to hear me speak shit for a few seconds. This is the 365-day coil plan. This is just fantastic. This is approximately about 25 quid. Top price, 95 pieces of mesh, 95 pieces of cotton. It's just a big box of coils. When you consider the complete price, the price for this to how much you get when it comes to stock coils, surely it's definitely worth having to switch over. I mean, from what I can see here, each bag's got about 10 pieces in, 5 to 10 pieces in. The entire bottom layer is just absolutely covered with mesh pieces. It's, as I said, it's just a purely cost-effective tank, especially if you get this kit as well. Right, now I've made this big old mess for you all. I've got to try and tidy it all up. Because, yeah, one by one, line them all up. Otherwise, they're going to be literally everywhere. But as you can tell, I'm sorted for a very long time with these. I'm not going to pretend this is the most perfect tank you're ever going to get. There are some flaws to it. From my perspective, it doesn't run very well with desserts. It's not that it doesn't run well with it. Some of the flavours can seem a bit muted for desserts. But if you're a fruit vapor, the coils can last a good couple of weeks at least. So, you know, it's a pretty good tank. I mean, right now, here I'm starting on 38.5 watts. I always recommend to start lower than the recommended for each sub-ohm tank. Most vapors will also say so too. Only as a start though, before you build up to your recommended. And the recommended wattage for this tank is between 50 and 60 watts. I do apologise if I look like I've got some kind of stroke. I had an extraction up here and up here, so I look a bit fucked up. I mean, it's been a couple of days since I did the initial video to that, so it's taken a couple of days to also do the voice works and stuff like that. I can't multitask for shit. Right. Let's go. 50. As I said, it's a decent tank. It's got decent coil life-ish for certain flavours. Heavily sweet juices, it depends on what kind of sweet they are, but as I said, with desserts, not so great. I'm not saying they can't be done, but when you consider the cost effectiveness to this tank, it blows all other tanks out of the park, to be honest. It's been on the market for a fair while. I got my rainbow one about a year and a half ago, I think it is. Something along that lines. And I've been recommending this to people ever since. It's one of them tanks. I mean, a lot of people are looking at getting into RTAs, RDAs, especially with how the economy's gone. I mean, the prices of things have gone through the roof. So, I mean, the last thing they want to be spending need to be spending is £15 for a pack of coils every month. And that's provided the coils are decent. So, you know, if you've got a pack of 95 meshes and 95 cottons and a tank for under 50 quid to last you at least a year, because essentially that's what it's going to be doing. It's going to be lasting you at least a year. I mean, as I said, there's some coils I've got, I don't think I've had a coil that could last any less than 5 days. So a 365 day pack, that works out, I think it works out to 3.8 days if you've calculated it properly, per coil. And it's roughly, I think if you divide that entire total 50 divided by the year, 95 pieces, including the tank and all that, it works out to about 8p a coil. There's a big difference. So, you know, 8-9p a coil, something along that lines. I could be a little bit wrong. I haven't calculated it recently. It's just one of them, though, isn't it? I mean, the reason I probably rate this towards people from going to RTAs, I build my own coils myself. Like, I do basic fuse claptons, things like that, a couple of juggernauts here and there. But the reason I would suggest this over an RTA, because yes, RTAs are still cheaper than sub-ohm tanks or stock coil tanks, but the problem with an RTA or an RDA coil, you've got to learn to maintain them. You see a lot of people going to custom coil builders. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but if you're just new to that and you're not learning to build your coil, your decks properly, or you're not learning to maintain your coils, it can be quite costly. So that's why I recommend this. You don't have that maintenance kind of style to it. You know, all you need is your snips, your screwdriver, something to test your resistance. You just need to learn to build it properly. As I said, the instructions are crystal clear on it. It's just a good tank. I would recommend to anyone that's thinking about switching over to rebuildables. Yes, you might find an issue somewhere down the line that might be quite difficult to get the meshes, but when you think about 50 quid over a year, you know, it's at least a year. At least a year. As I said, I've had at least sometimes 2 weeks, 3 weeks out of a coil. So you can be keeping this tank for a long time. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and my little rundown of the R-tank. I hope to be doing some more videos for you soon with different products, different juices, older pieces, newer pieces, and I hope you hit the like and subscribe button. And I really hope you guys come follow us on social media. We're on Discord. If you want the links for the Discord, hit us up on Dark Humor Vapes on Facebook. And I hope you have a good day for whatever you might be doing today. So take care, and I'll catch you all soon.